I'm not a social justice politician. This is not the flavor of the month to me. This is something that's concerned me since I was a child. And I grew up in Washington, D.C. I started school in '54. And I watched the integration of Washington. And I watched my neighborhood go from all white to all black in the space of about 5 years. And I remember as an 8 or 9-year-old kid, and I'm not sure whether I was 8 or 9, but it was while I was still living there, I went across the street to a graduation party for one of my classmates' sister, who just graduated from Coolidge High School. And I walked up to her, and you gotta know something about my family. My mother had a 7th grade education, and my father had a high school education. I walked up to her and I asked her, "What college are you going to?" To this day, I do not know why I asked that question or why I knew you were supposed to go to college. My parents must have said something. And she said, "I'm not going to college." She said, "My uncle went to college. All he is a janitor. That's all there is. And it's not worth it." And, you know, I was 8 or 9 and I wasn't, I didn't have a full understanding of that, but I knew that there was something wrong. And that stuck with me through my whole life. So as I got older, what she said began to grow a context around it. And I began to understand what it meant. And, you know, I thought about my own life and how I raised my kids. And I realized, you know, at the age when I graduated high school, I thought about possibility. And I thought about what I could do, and I thought about what world my kids would be able to move into. And I realized, and I kept thinking about that girl, and I thought about what would have happened to her. You know, what would she tell her children? Would she tell her children there was no future and no possibility? And what if she did that? How would her children grow up? And how would their children grow up? And I realized how, you know, we spin out in different worlds, and a lot of that starts when we're really young. I didn't know all that when I was 8 or 9, but I learned it as I got older. The second thing that happened was a knock on the door, and one night we're sitting in the living room, and somebody knocks at the door. My mother gets up, answers the door. I go over with her. I'm standing behind her, and it's 2 white real estate agents. And they proceed to tell her how important it is to sell their house and get out of the neighborhood now while the getting was good, as you might say. And talked about what would happen when the neighborhood fully integrated, what would happen to their property values, what would happen to the school. And again, it was a scary conversation to listen to. I didn't realize the full importance of it until I got older. And as I realized that, I thought about, you know, what a difference, you know, if we had integrated our schools and people had learned to live with each other and stand side by side with each other as adults and as children, what a different world this would be, instead of to have a decision to integrate schools lead to just another form of segregation in society. And again, I understood the depth of that as I got older. The last story I want to tell you is more recent. I saw a movie about James Baldwin, I'm Not Your Negro. And there's a scene in that movie where Martin Luther King is talking, and he's talking about the legislation they're trying to get through Congress. I think it was 1965. And he said that people think we're going too fast, and they want us to wait another 40 years. I added 40 to 1965. I got 2005. It's 2018. We're not there. And, you know, thinking about that, I realized if we wait for people to get comfortable with the notion of justice, we will wait a very, very long time.